All righty, well, let's get started. Thank you so much for joining. Like I said, today is Fighting the Phish, how security awareness training can protect your business. And I've got a special guest today with us, Caroline England. She's our client relationship manager here at Vector Choice. And Caroline, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
Great, great. And you guys are going to learn a lot from her and some of the process and procedures that she takes our clients through with the security awareness training and everything that we're going to be talking about today. But first and foremost, let me tell you a little bit about Vector Choice and who we are. I've had the honor to work with an awesome team. We've made the Inc. 5000 for the past 3 years. We've been best and brightest companies to work for here in Atlanta. We have had an awesome run. Even this year, we've made Inc. 5000 again. The MSP 501. What's MSP 501 is the top 501 managed service providers in the world, not in Georgia, not in any state, not in just the United States, but in the world. So we're very honored to be there. So what do? We do cybersecurity, outsourced IT managed services, to consulting, to dark web monitoring. We do voice over IP solutions. We do a lot of compliancy when it comes to GDPR, HIPAA, SOX, NIST compliancy. We can help you when it comes to compliancy concerns and needs. Now, where do we do it at? Yes, so we have 5 offices. Our corporate office is in Atlanta, Georgia, but we also have offices in Northern Virginia in the DC market, North Carolina, Mobile, Alabama, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We've had clients all over the world, from Costa Rica to the Netherlands to the Dominican Republic, and currently we service clients in 23 states. And again, we can help you when it comes to compliance. One of the big things, CMMC. A lot of our clients in the DC market, if you're working with government contracts, you have to be CMMC compliant. All righty. So, Caroline, let's talk a little bit about what we're talking about today. I mean, we've got a lot of exciting things to talk about. And first and foremost, let's start with our dark web monitoring. And one of the things, for all of you guys today, the key to cyber defense is knowledge. Okay. Without knowledge, you have nothing. For example, I'm going to have, and if anybody's interested in this and live on Facebook and on the webinar, do you want to gamble? You want to take the risk? I would love for you to do that. But Caroline, do me a favor, run a dark web scan on, let's just say, T-Mobile. Okay, run a dark web scan. So if anybody's interested for us to run a dark web scan on their company, put your email address in the chat, and we will run that for you. So what we're doing here, we're searching the dark web, and Caroline's searching the dark web right now for passwords that are a part of T-Mobile on the dark web. Now, one of the things I know is a lot of people might say, what is the dark web? Well, the dark web, think about it, is where all the illegal things happen. Just like crime, I go break into a bank, I steal something from a store. That's all, you can see those, right? But the problem is the dark web is so scary because you can't see those things. And that's where credit cards, so when you hear your credit card got stolen, or your password got stolen, or your social security number, all your banking information, that stuff gets put on the dark web and it gets sold. And it's pennies on the dollar for people to buy this stuff. So this is one way we can help protect our clients, is protecting them by monitoring the dark web to see if their passwords get exposed. Now, you might say, well, I don't have anything. But think about this. Most people still today use the same password to log into their email, to their computer, that they log into their personal banking account. Okay. You might say, well, I changed one letter. I changed, uppercase, lowercase, and that does not matter. It still can be hacked. One of the stories, LinkedIn a couple of years ago got hacked. All the passwords got on the dark web. We run a report and see all the LinkedIn. We come to find out that those passwords are the same passwords people are using to log into their computers. And so that is the risk of, one, reusing passwords, but also where we can show you what's on the dark web. Now, we don't control the dark web. What we find is what we find. There's nothing we control. We cannot remove the passwords from the dark web, but we can at least show you so you'll never use that password again. So Caroline, show us, scroll down a little bit. Sure. Obviously, T-Mobile has a lot of employees, and so they have over 1,000 plus hits. And Caroline, if you scroll down just a little bit here,
Yep.
so here's some of the things that you'll see. Here's some of the email addresses associated on the dark web for them, and then the passwords. Now, we do, for the purpose of this, is we do stars. So someone's got email, it looks like dot 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 dot. We're starring that out so you don't see the full password. So we're not just giving everybody the T-Mobile passwords out there, but we can get that, and we do get that. So Caroline, any comments here?
No, but what I do like to check is when we do these proactively, you can see that the date that it was found, right? So if you're checking these on a regular basis, it'll help you be proactive in hey, we need to change our password now because this just showed up last week. So I do like that benefit of it as well.
Yep. And when we're monitoring for clients, what happens is we get, when we're live monitoring, as soon as it hits the dark web, we pick it up, it creates a ticket in our system, and we can immediately let you know what user in your company got exposed on the dark web and their password. So then they can go and change all those passwords associated with that account or anything else they're using those passwords for. And again, we can talk about passwords. It's a whole nother webinar about what kind of passwords you should use and everything. I'll tell you, every one of my passwords is auto-generated by our password vault system. It's 17 characters long. And if you held a gun to me, I couldn't tell you a single password. And that's where you want to be, is to have secure passwords that you're not using phrases, or especially things like password one or the @ sign for A's and stuff like that. Hackers know those things. Again, some of the other things we can find if you have PII information. Okay, everybody that doesn't know anything about PII, and she's showing you a few there. That is personal information that's out there on the dark web. It could be a social security number. It could be your address to your house. It could be anything that's your personal information that's considered PII type information. If you're in the healthcare industry, you definitely get that, or a PCI compliancy and dealing with that type of stuff, you definitely get that.
Yep.
So again, I cannot emphasize enough, the key to cybersecurity defense is knowledge. For example, I went to a client, or a prospect, excuse me, went to there, and it was a CPA firm. And that CPA firm, I was meeting with 13 of their partners in the CPA firm, downtown Buckhead, here in Atlanta. I walked in, and of course, I knew the company name. I got their email addresses. I only knew one of the CPAs. The rest of them did not know me for Adam. I ran a dark web scan. I got passwords for every single owner. Well, when I say partner, they're all owners of the CPA firm. I had passwords for every single one of them. I individually walked around the table, introduced myself. When they said their name, I handed them their password. First time ever meeting with them. Now, that is an impact that will scare you to death. If someone that you don't know can just sit there and hand you the password to your Amex card or to your proprietary information. Oh, by the way, they're CPA, so they've got a lot of personal information of their clients. That is a major risk to companies. And this is not just CPA, healthcare. This is anybody. If you're storing information that is proprietary information of your business, you don't want to get exposed. And let's don't even think about business. How about personal? Do you want the pictures that you take, your family pictures, to get stolen? And not just get stolen, but get compromised where you get ransomware on your machine and they hold you hostage because you don't have backups. So, but this is how people get into here. And so the next part of this of the webinar, I'm going to have Caroline go into our training tool, because again, because the key to cybersecurity defense is not just knowledge, but it's also training, because your users are your number one security risk when it comes to companies. So Caroline, let's go into our training module, walk through that for me, and share how that's set up, how customers can use this.
Sure. So I always say as well, with the dark web monitoring, that's really interesting. And as even an MSP, we can have you as secure as possible with all of the right protocols in place on firewalls, have you as secure and ready to go. But there is always that human element, right? We can't control if somebody clicks on an email and has something malicious. So the other piece of this is getting ready to recognize what is in emails that could be malicious, or how do I check my email safely on my phone? having that knowledge and that continuous knowledge, especially in today's environment, as hackers are getting a lot more sophisticated in their approaches, to me, it's a huge factor in the overall security of your company. So in this allows us to do a couple things. I'll start with test phishing. So what we can do is, if you are a law firm, if you are compliant, if you're in healthcare, there are all these different industries that this allows us to actually send emails that are commonly clicked on to see how phish prone a company is. So if I work in manufacturing and I'm an accountant and I got an accounting email that looks like something I would normally get, I'm probably more likely to click on that. And this allows you to get very granular with what types of emails you're seeing to tell us, hey, out of 50 people, if 36 are clicking on these types of emails, we need to do some training. We need to practice. We need to continue to be tested. So for the training, there's a ton of different options.
And Caroline, we got a question.
Sure.
One they're asking is, what is phishing? Okay. And just phishing is a social engineering of an email to send you something fake for you to click on, and either to provide implement ransomware or malware on your computer. And okay, so you say, okay, well, okay, I click on something not that important. But think about this. If you use Amex or Verizon, I mean, not Verizon, but Visa or American Express or MasterCard, you click on, it says, hey, it's time to reset your Amex card. You click on it, you put your username, your current password in to reset your password. Well, guess what? It wasn't the Amex website. And now you've just given your username and password to a hacker. And so think of the phishing, that's one way of phishing. And then the other side of it, of the phishing attacks, is where you click on a link, you don't realize in the background it installs ransomware. The ransomware doesn't affect you today. And then it could be 5-10 days down the road, all of a sudden the attack actually implements, the script is ran, and now everything on your machine and everything you're connected to has ransomware. Well, the implications from that is the fact that they're going to charge you. If you don't have backups, they're going to charge you to get that. And we're seeing that the starting charge right now is about $50,000. Yep. About $2.8 million a minute is paid out to hackers. A minute, not a day, a minute is paid out to hackers because of this phishing test. So what we're doing here, and what Caroline is explaining to you, is that we're going to send your employees test phishing examples where you can rate them of how well they're doing. If they're not clicking on it, they're not submitting information, and then we can send them through a training. But Caroline, I just wanted to answer that question real fast.
Yeah, no, thank you for clarifying. And if there are any questions as I'm going along, just let me know and we can definitely stop and answer anything that comes up. With that said, there are a ton of different ways to look at, hey, email looks different on your phone than it does on a tablet, than it does on your computer. So the way that this is structured, there are a ton of different content types, topics, or you can search. So for example, if I wanted to learn more about mobile devices, I can click into mobile devices and, oh, let me try that again. Sorry about that. And it'll load a bunch of different options that go with mobile device. So mobile device security, here's a 10-minute training on how to properly look at emails, how to look for things on your phone. And with these trainings, what I really like about them is that you don't have to complete it all in one sitting. So if I want to do 2 minutes on Thursday, and then I'm eating my lunch and I have 3 minutes here, it allows you to jump back in, and it'll test you along the way. So there are a bunch of different options. You can look at things that you're compliant to. So if you're HIPAA compliant, they have trainings for that. And we update these are updated every day. And there's thousands and thousands of options. So we can work with you to figure out, hey, if you're getting a lot of feedback that people are having issues, with social media, there's trainings on that. We can really tailor those to you.
Caroline, we got a question here.
Uh-huh.
Can you customize this if you have certain modules that you want your new employees to watch? Can you customize it to require them to watch these modules when they start?
Yep. So there's a lot of different ways to do it on the back end, but we do it for a ton of clients now, where as soon as that person on orientation day, there's an email in their inbox. Hey, you've been assigned this training. You have X amount of days to complete it. And that way they're already starting off with that training, and you can assign it to different groups. Like if there's HR training. So if you're the new HR person, there's an HR security. There's different modules that you can do. Definitely.
Great. Thank you.
And I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on Kevin Mitnick.
Guys, Kevin actually started, he's a partner of Know Before. He also owns a security company. But the thing about Kevin, I met Kevin, I think it was about in 2019, I met him, and he is known as the world's famous hacker. In 1995, he actually was arrested for hacking and spent 5 years in prison for hacking. And very good hacker. He actually started hacking telecom. So hacking phones, phone lines and stuff, and then went from there. Now, granted, you can say, well, why would you want to use a tool that is sponsored by a known hacker? But the thing is, a known hacker knows all the, and he's obviously turned a different path in his life. I think he was born in '63, so he's got some years under his belt. So he's turned a stone, and he actually has a security company. And he was sitting there telling me a story when I was with him, that how, because he doesn't just do hacking, but he also gets paid to physically infiltrate a business. And so a bank in New York wanted to see if he could physically get into their facility without having any knowledge or anything. He knew what floors they were on. That was about it. So he took a device, and they all had the card scan readers, right? And these are things you don't think about. You think about computer hacking, but you don't think about this. So everybody was carrying around the little floppy cards that you scan to get in, to buzz in, to get into a door when you're in a business. Well, he had to get access to that system to get into the door. Well, he took a card, he had a device, he went in the bathroom outside the lobby where everybody was going to the bathroom. He sat in the bathroom while another employee came in. His device scanned that card, stole the information from that card. He was then able to duplicate the card and walk straight in the front door and into all other parts of the bank with someone else's card. Now, that's scary. And you don't think about going to the bathroom. Do I need to be secure when I go to the bathroom? But the unfortunate thing, yes, you do. Hackers are going to be everywhere. They're going to be stealing different things. I have a device that I can go set at Starbucks, and you can connect to Wi-Fi through my device. I can call it Starbucks and call it whatever I want. You connect to my device. I give you internet, but everything you type, I capture that information. So that is knowledge that the average employee doesn't know about, especially, hey, we're in the mobile world these days. I mean, we've been in it for a while, but God, when 2020 hit and COVID hit, we all went mobile, right? So everybody's working from home, they're working from Starbucks, and you're connecting, you're typing all this stuff and all this intellectual data or private data or sensitive data over wide open networks. You're not in the office anymore. Well, there's steps to help protect that. But this is one of many, as training the users what to look out for, what not to do, and what to do.
Yeah. And one of the other cool things is cybersecurity insurance is obviously becoming more prevalent, and I'm sure eventually it'll be required. And one of the cool things I also like about this training, I'm just going to share this really quick. Let me go back to it. Okay. So in the training, you can also see as a business owner or a manager, if I want to say, hey, how many people have completed this training? I gave them 3 weeks. You can customize everything. It allows you to click into each of these individual items. And upon completion of any of the trainings, you'll get a certificate. That's huge when going through with cybersecurity insurance or an audit. It shows that you guys are proactively taking these trainings and learning, doing continued learning. So for example, Down here, you could see where someone did complete the training. It shows me how long they spent on it. So if somebody passes it in 2 minutes, I don't know if you necessarily looked at all the slides and did all the learning. They passed the quiz 100%, shows completed. And then this little trophy, if I were to click on that, it shows that certificate, right? Here's somebody that's past due. And you can also send notifications out automatically to anyone and say, hey, you still need to complete this training. Hey, you still need to complete this training. So it's a great tool in that sense as well.
Yeah, and nice thing, me and my CTO are always filling out cybersecurity questionnaires from insurance companies for our clients. And there's 2 questions. I mean, there's a ton of questions, but the 2 questions that we see every company they're asking: do you have multi-factor or 2-factor authentication? Do you have some kind of training in place for your employees, cybersecurity training? That's 2 things that are being asked on every cybersecurity policy from every insurance company. It is coming, people. There's no around about it. You've got to protect your data. There's even some states now, like Ohio, New York, California, Texas, have passed laws that they have their own state compliancy. So if you're not familiar, the EU passed a few years ago what's called Gdpr. Their Gdpr is everybody that you're doing business with, a person or a business inside of the EU, you have to be GDPR compliant. Same thing if you are a healthcare, you have to be HIPAA compliant. We're going to eventually see where every state, either state or federal, is going to mandate that you protect your customers, your employees, and yourself from cyber attacks, or the insurance companies are not going to cover you, and you're also could get fined as well.
Yep. And the goal with this is typically, so you'll phish people automatically when you start the process, and just to see how prone, right? Like we just want to see how sick are we. Then we do the training. Then we go back and continue, and you'll see those numbers drop. So if we had, let's say 40% are clicking the first time after that training, in my experience, and I've worked with this particular program for about 4 years, you'll see it drop to like less than 10% the first time. And then eventually it's like 0.1% because everybody becomes so aware that it might be overly aware, but you'd rather be overly aware in those scenarios. So the other piece of this is Phishing Campaign. So we have a demo site that we use just for these types of scenarios. So if I were to show you campaigns that I've already run, I'm going to click into one. And then I'll show you how to build a campaign so you can see all of the different options as well. So this is the overview, but where we would go is the users. So it'll tell me how many were delivered, how many were opened, and then how far they went. So an open is not a failure. An open is I'm looking at this email, I'm clicking into the email. That is not a failure, but it will tell us, which is really nice, how far did they go, right? So did they click? Did they reply to the email? Did they try to download something? And that aspect I really like. So if I wanted to preview an email that actually went out, and this will say whoever's name it is, but we're logged into the demo right now. So it'll say, if you were to click on it, it would say, stop. You should have looked at these 3 things, and it'll give you this toggle red flags. So then you can hover over them and it'll tell you exactly why you should not have clicked on that email. And every time you do that, it'll show there's a multitude of options and things that you can choose. But obviously this one looks pretty legit. If I was looking at it, I mean, you have to know what you're looking at. And that is kind of where we're getting in cybersecurity are, you know, these hackers, they have a lot of time on their hands. They're getting a lot more intelligent in their approaches. So they are going to send things that they know people don't check closely. But that's also really cool to see. And it'll tell you, hey, you should have checked these 3 things. Let's do better next time. Now, say I click 3 times in a row. It's going to send information to the administrator and the manager. Hey, this person keeps clicking. Let's see where they're messing up if they need to take more training. But there's a different multitude of options of things that are clicked. So you can do anything. And this is just random. But even this looks like Apple iTunes, right? And if they clicked on this, somebody's like, who bought Justin Bieber on my account? I did not want the Justin Bieber CD. It'll tell you exactly where you should have looked. So like if you were to hover over this link, it's not going to take you to Apple. If you look here, it's not going to take you to the link you think it is. So it really shows you all of the things that we don't think about, because when you're busy, you're just checking an email and moving on. But it teaches you how to be really vigilant in everything that you're looking at and clicking on.
And it's a lot better for us to be sending this to you and your employees than actually getting hit with a hacker.
Yep. So that's one cool aspect. Now let's say, okay, well, how hard is this to manage? If we're helping you, we manage it all. We'll coordinate with you, but there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of customization and that you can use. So if I wanted to create a campaign to phish anybody, you could say all users, or do I just want to phish accounting this time? Or do I just want to phish my salespeople in the field? You can choose different groups or everyone. You can set it up to run as often as you want, weekly, bi-weekly, quarterly, and you'll get those results at the end of each session. You could say, hey, I want it to start now and end at the end of this month. And then you can choose, oh, I want it to send over 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. So there's a lot of customization here. If you guys work weekends, if anybody has weekends, you can set the time limits, whatever. But this is where it gets really interesting. They have a ton of, this is always updated, but even with coronavirus, you can choose so many different options of what would best fit you. So if you're HIPAA compliant, we can do HIPAA security hints and tips, attachments, banking and finance, business, CPAs, education. So there's tons of options, and it's going to send, you can click multiple. So if I wanted to do education, healthcare, human resources, you can check as many as you want, and it'll send emails specific to those types. I can also choose a difficulty rating. Obviously, as time goes on, I'm going to make it more difficult.
I think the holiday one is a key, especially with the holidays coming up. A lot of people are going to be shopping online. I actually last year I did a TV segment, on Cyber Monday about shopping online and talking about the things to look out for when you're shopping online, because there's so many. You get a special from Target or Macy's or your favorite retail store or Amazon, right? And you're just clicking away like, oh, that deal looks good. And, that's going to help you educate your employees not clicking on that type of stuff, because we all know they do shop online sometimes at work.
Yep. And so I chose healthcare as this one, just to choose a random so you can kind of see what it looks like. This is an email that would go out. This is an example. Now, if I'm looking at that off the bat and I don't know, I mean, that looks like a really legitimate email. And so I just love how educational these actually are. And it can tell you, good morning. Is it addressed to you? If you're getting an email, are you expecting this email? And so I think that these are really, really brilliant. It's one of the best things that we can do to be proactive and train our users and protect our own companies just on, hey, if we're all checking and we're all being really vigilant, then the likelihood of us clicking on something that could be bad goes down a lot. Any questions on that piece?
No, I think we're good, and we'll go and move on to the next one. So the next part about the key to cybersecurity defense is knowledge, is actually documenting it, right? And so here we want to show you what we're able to do. We have templated documents that we can use for you. So let's say business disaster recovery. So put that in the title if you don't mind, Caroline. So we have a disaster recovery plan template that we can either provide you with our service or we can help build out for you. So there's different things. You might have been logged off since we've been talking so much. But there's different types of things. So if you're controlled by FCC policies, we have things like the COVID type policies here, HIPAA. So click on the COVID-19. It's about 6 down, Caroline, on the PDF for me. Yep. So here's an example of prepare workforce for COVID-19. Yep, we've already been prepared, but this is type of stuff that we can produce for you. So, or how to work from home documents, stuff like that. So these are documents that you don't have to create from scratch. Yeah, you might want to modify it with, a few of your ins and outs of but you don't have to start from scratch with a document. So this is something that we can definitely offer you guys as well as part of our services.
Mhm. And even things such as like a hire termination checklist, if we have no idea where to start, that's always a good starting place. And then we can customize, but even those types of um, items are really
Uh,
helpful as
I'll
well.
tell you a funny story about hiring, Caroline. I don't know if I've ever told you this, and I think that everybody will get a good laugh at it. We actually took over a company several years ago. It's probably been about 7 years ago. Their IT, well, their IT provider, IT guy, it was a one-man shop. Their IT provider, they did not, let's say, exit him out correctly, meaning changing the code to the security system, getting the key back to the office, locking things down. Well, we did what we do on the IT side. We actually secured the server environment and the networking environment. But one thing they forgot was to change the code or disable the code and get the key back. Well, it was a Saturday. I remember I was driving down to Savannah for some reason, and we got an alert that the servers went down. So we called the client. And the client said, "Hey, don't worry about it. It happens every weekend. We have power issues in our building. We'll just restart the servers Monday morning." Okay, great. And of course, we documented it. Monday morning comes around. I'm actually heading back from Savannah back to Atlanta, and I get a text from one of the engineers, and they're like, "Their servers are gone." And I'm like, "What do you mean their servers are gone?" They're like, "They're gone." I'm like, "So they're fried?" And in the IT world, sometimes we say gone is that the server's fried, or that it's not going to boot back up ever again. And that's enough panic, enough issue already. But no, they were physically gone. I mean, they were taken out of the server rack and gone, meaning like stolen, gone. And so the individual went in and took the servers and held them for ransom. So that's another way to be held for ransom, not just digitally, but held the servers for ransom. So having a proper checklist for your employees, exiting them properly, from getting their card scanned to disabling things to, if you give them a car, get the car keys back. There's so many things to make sure an employee exiting that you need. So these are, like stories like that in our document here will help spark some thought, and we can customize it to each company. And Caroline, have I ever told you that story?
No, but that's terrifying.
It is. It is terrifying for any business owner, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is one of the easiest ways. Obviously, with security, it really is a tiered approach. It's how secure do you want to be? How much disaster recovery do we want to have? These all go hand in hand. But this is one of the easiest ways to implement security, and it's going to have a huge impact in the long run, for sure.
Yep. Well, guys, I don't see any other questions. I know it was a short webinar today, but hey, it's a short topic, but very important topic. And remember, the key to cybersecurity defense is knowledge. If you don't have knowledge, you don't educate your employees with that knowledge, they're not going to know. So make sure you get your employees trained, get some kind of training in place, get some dark web monitoring so you don't get passwords compromised out there. Caroline, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for educating everybody today. If you have any questions for us at all, you can reach out to us at vectorchoice.com. Our phone number as well is on the website, or you can email info@vectorchoice.com to reach any of us, and we'll get that over. And for anybody that's on the webinar today, we're going to give away a 30-day free trial of the phishing. And also, if you want, we'll run a dark web scan for you and give that to you as well. So again, thank you so much for coming on. Protect your business, protect your employees, and educate your employees. Have a wonderful day.